spooky.
Time to get spooky.
Time to get spooky, bitches. Welcome to Girls Gone Spooky. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Amy.
And
this is
Girls Gone Spooky.
Yeah, and it's episode 8.
Wow. Amazing.
Almost
a 10. We're going to have to do something special to celebrate.
Yeah.
A milestone.
Little milestone.
So today we're going to be kicking off, I'm going to guess it's going to be a series. I feel like it's going to be a series.
I think it has to be.
Yeah, of haunted places. So we're starting in the US because we are United Statesians. And we will probably be traveling all over the world for many other parts to this theme. But do you want to reveal your theme?
Sure. So I stayed pretty local for mine. They're all in Colorado because
I love it.
Turns out we have our fair share of haunted places here.
Yeah, y'all are haunted AF.
Yeah. It's no surprise. So that's what I'm doing. What about you?
Amazing. So I'm doing the 2 states that I've lived, California and Texas, in the US, obviously. I now do not live in the US, but California and Texas. And I was just saying to Amy before we hit record, I feel like I'm a little all over the place this episode because there's just so much. I'm going to try and go deeper on a couple. But so my dad and his wife were visiting this weekend, and he loves the podcast, which is
I love
hilarious.
That. That's
I
so
know.
Sweet.
I know, I love it. But he triggered a memory in me. He was talking about, have you talked to this person about this experience they had? And it made me remember something that happened to me in high school that I had totally forgotten about.
Oh, God.
And I know a little bit about the history. I'm going to tell it at the end.
Okay.
At the very end of my section.
The suspense.
So, the suspense.
The intrigue and the suspense.
Intrigue. Suspense. So who went first last time? I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure I did. So I think it's your turn.
Okay. You're just trying to cut through the suspense, I can tell.
I can't wait.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. Okay. So California and Texas. I'm going to kind of bop around between the two because there's just so much stuff. So I'm pulling from a few different sources this week. Lots of like travel guide sources. And then that kind of led me down rabbit holes for a lot of each of these. Condé Nast Traveler, Curbed, both Austin and LA, Visit California, Travel Channel. This is a little bit of a spoiler, but the Winchester Mystery House site. Yeah, I think that's basically it. And then, like I said, pulling from a personal story at the end. So we are starting in Bodie, California, which was once home to 10,000 people. It boomed in the 1870s and 80s when gold was found in the hills surrounding Mono Lake. It's now a state historic park with some parts of the town preserved in a state of, quote, arrested decay, end quote. Tables with place settings, shops eerily stocked with supplies, which like already ick. Like you just get kind of an ick vibe. It's not surprising that there are obviously a bunch of reports of supernatural activities in Bodie, including ghost sightings, music playing from shuttered bars. There's also a legend that any visitor who takes anything, even a rock from Bodie, will be cursed with bad luck and health problems upon leaving. And this actually, I don't know if this is where it originated, but there are several like movies and supernatural TV shows, including the show Supernatural, where you can't take a rock from the place because it curses you. So I wonder if this is where it originated. That it's,
I wonder.
I mean, it's probably a common theme globally, but at least in the US stories. It also reminded me of all the whole like preserved arrested decay concept reminded me of a place that Amy and I visited in college with a group of our friends called Lake Nacimiento,
Oh,
which
yeah.
allegedly has like a town underneath the lake, right?
I think so. I hadn't thought about that in forever, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think it
And we
does.
were so creeped out by it. And it was like not the nicest water to swim in already. And then
No.
knowing that there was just like an Atlantis, but like a not
Mhm.
cute Atlantis underneath was like
Yeah, there's
really
no Disney movie about
alarming.
that.
No, no Disney movie, just full creep.
Uh-huh.
Um okay, so that's number one is Bodie, California. Um, taking us to Long Beach, California, in Southern California. The Queen Mary, once known as the Gray Ghost, Queen Mary serves up chills in the form of screams from a decapitated sailor in the boiler room.
Whoa.
Yeah, and visions of a lady in white, of
Of
course, because
course.
what else would she be wearing?
Yeah.
Roaming the halls. Visitors can choose from a handful of haunted tours, which I was like, color me intrigued.
Yes.
A handful of haunted tours, or you can book a stay in stateroom B340 for overnight thrills. So I think allegedly this is where the majority of the hauntings happen. And I want in.
Oh. Oh, I don't know how
I
I feel
want
about
in.
that.
Yeah, I am here for it. Um, so a couple more before I go a little more in depth into some. So in California, there's a place called the Preston Castle. The facade itself now looks basically like built for a horror film. So keep in mind it's old and kind of like crumbling. It was at one time a reform school for unruly youth and abandoned children. So I'd assume some mix between like an orphanage and like, I don't know, some sort of like detention center for
Yeah.
kids, like juvie type thing. But the structure's history includes corporal punishment, toxic dunking baths, and very famously a housekeeper's murder. So it's open for tours year round. It's in Amador County, and then they turn it into a haunted house in October. And it's funny because
Wow.
reading this, that kind of like, I don't know, struck a nerve for me. Like that this was a place of like true suffering for these kids, not just adults, but kids.
Yeah.
Toxic dunking
Dunking.
baths. I honestly didn't look that up further because I was afraid about what I would find.
I was just gonna ask if you did. I'm so curious.
I don't
Did you do
know. It
it?
makes me think, yeah, do it and censor it for me because I don't know what I can handle. It reminds me of, they made that show Ratched about Nurse Ratched
Yeah.
with what's her name? Sarah. Oh, what is that
Paulson?
actor? Yes, Sarah
Yeah.
Paulson. Wow. Yes. Nice. Nice. Uh, she, there's a scene, and this is not giving much away. There's a scene where they like put them in these hot and then freezing water baths to like shock the mental illness out of them, which obviously is
Yeah.
horrifying.
Does
But it kind of reminded me of that. And so I was like, oh, maybe it's that. But then toxic, I was like, oh, no, it's straight up a chemical dunk. And that is absolutely horrifying.
yeah.
So moving right along. It opened in 1894. And at the time, it was considered to be a really impressive architectural, not feat, but the design was really impressive at the time. Romanesque revival architecture is the category. Until 1960, the building housed both juvenile offenders as well as abandoned children. Now it's believed to be home to a few different tormented spirits, some believed to be attacking the living. So people have had some very like physical interactions with spirits at the Preston Castle. It's also rumored that the building is haunted by the spirit of a woman named Anna Corbin, who was the murdered housekeeper. She was beaten to death in the basement. So yikes. However, the circumstances surrounding her murder remain an unsolved mystery, which piqued my interest. Morbid curiosity. But anyway, the building is open to public tours year round. So if you want to try to chat with Anna, figure out what happened, please let us know.
I wonder if anyone has gone there, like a medium or something.
I mean, I feel like they must. A few of the places that I found had been visited by Ghost Adventures, that show on, I don't know if it's Travel Channel, but with Zach Bagan and his motley crew. I love that guy. God damn. I don't want to love him, but I love him. So anyway, that's just kind of a funny little note.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the last one I have, let me just make sure. Okay. So two more main ones in California, and then we're going to move on to Texas briefly. So one is in Los Angeles. It's called the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, a very swanky hotel, and is rumored to house one of the most fabulous ghosts of all time, Miss Marilyn Monroe herself. She allegedly still haunts the halls. Guests have also reported mysterious trumpet music, believed to be the spirit of Montgomery Clift, who liked to practice in Suite 928. I love when they give these details.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going in that room. I'm like, if you don't have 928, I'll come another time.
Yep.
Like, I want to stay in that room. So it opened in 1927, right in the thick of Hollywood, and as such has a very star-studded history. It was used for movie premiere after parties. It hosted the first Oscars, which I was like, that's a cool fact.
Really cool.
The clientele and very striking architecture, in this case, Spanish colonial revival style, helped, this is a quote, helped shape the image and myth of Hollywood as a place of glamour and luxury, according to a 2010 survey of Hollywood area historic resources. So this is from Curbed LA. So they've got a lot of information about the history of it. So a lot of those stars still seem to haunt the hotel. So like I said, Marilyn Monroe, the busiest ghost in the biz, supposedly haunts her old room 1200, where she lived as her fame grew. It's rumored that her first ad was shot at the Roosevelt's pool.
Oh, cool.
And I looked it up, and I'll send it to you after.
Yeah.
It's very cool, and we can post it to our Instagram too.
Okay.
And I was like, that's so cool.
That is cool.
So a couple more details just about like what people experience. So many people see Marilyn in the mirror. So like they'll be getting ready and they see her in the mirror, which I was like,
I don't like that.
Oh, no, thank you.
Even if it's Marilyn Monroe,
I know.
I don't want
I know. I feel like she had kind of a tormented life, honestly. Yeah. I mean, it was all glitz and glamour on the outside, but that girl had her demons.
Yeah.
So yikes. They also see a little girl in a blue dress.
No, thank
which
you.
Makes me think of, no, thank you, the twins from the Stanley Hotel, and made me giggle. A maintenance worker has seen both Marilyn in the mirror and the little girl in the blue dress. They told this to the Hollywood Reporter. The apparition of Montgomery Clift has been blamed for patting guests' shoulders and watching maids in room 928, where he stayed for 3 months while filming From Here to Eternity. And the ghost of Carol Lombard has also been spotted floating around upper floors. In the Blossom Room, where the first Oscars were held, which, like, sidebar, cool.
Yeah. Really cool.
So cool. 2 ghosts have been documented. Presence of a tuxedoed man and presence of a man in a white suit. So
they're all glamorous there.
Yeah, and I'm like, which actors are those?
Right.
Like, did they attend the Oscars? Did they die shortly thereafter? Were they reliving their glory days?
Right. Who knows?
As Oscar nominees. I don't know. Who knows? Not me. Okay, and last California one is the Winchester Mystery House. So this one is local to my hometown. It's located in San Jose, California. So very funky place. I haven't been, which just really is effed up. So I need to go. I'm making that a mission of mine when I go home for the holidays. I'm going to the goddamn Winchester Mystery House.
Put it on the list.
Yes, but I've read a lot about it. I watched the horror movie about it, which
I didn't know there was one.
I think it's with Helen Mirren. Randomly, I was like, how did you guys get her to do this movie? Like, she's like top tier, and this movie was not. The movie was fine, it was entertaining, but I'm pretty sure it's Helen Mirren. Anyway, watch it, it's decent. It's not historically accurate. So in the movie there are, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, so I will lightly allude. So it changes the timeline of historical Californian, like historical events, with what happened to Sarah Winchester and just like what happened at the house generally. So that the historical piece is not accurate from a timeline standpoint, but a lot of the records about like who she was, how she was, why she designed the house, the way she behaved, that stuff does seem relatively accurate. So it seems like a pretty good depiction. But the physical house is known to just be freaky and weird. Like there are like doors that lead to nowhere, doors that just lead to outside on like the third floor. Like really dangerous. Like parts of the house have to be, parts of the house have to be blocked off so people don't get hurt. There are staircases that dead end into the ceiling. The belief was that Sarah Winchester, who was a part of she married into the famous Winchester like rifle family, widowed. It was believed that she designed the house in this weird way to confuse the ghosts. So she believed that her husband, perpetuating, I guess, this like gun killing focused kind of society that we live in the United States, unfortunately, that basically all of the ghosts that have been killed are coming back for vengeance against her husband and his family, which includes her. So the idea is that she created this like maze so that they couldn't find her. And it was rumored that she would sleep in different rooms throughout the house. I didn't look up like the exact numbers, but there were like a crap ton of rooms. There were 3 stories. Yeah, I believe it was a 3-story home. At one point now, like it's 3 stories now. At one point, I think it was like 6 or 7. Like it was insane. She just kept building and kept building and kept building. Mm-hmm. And I believe at the time when she started building, they had a ton of land. So now, of course, San Jose is overly populated. And so, it's the property has tightened up quite a bit. But it's just interesting because it's like she had all this land and she was like, keep building. Like she's very committed. Yeah. So that's kind of an interesting fact. One of the other things she was known to do is seances. So she believed that if she did seances to like communicate with and appease the spirits of these, like, I think murdered is the assumption, men or, murdered
people,
spirits. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That between that and then like hiding from them in different rooms every night, she could trick them from finding her. Weird. I'm going to go out on a limb and say spirits are probably smarter than that. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Sarah. But people also say she was extremely kind to like the staff. So the people who did all of the construction, the people who worked in the home. Mm-hmm. She seems like a very nice lady. She clearly had a lot of empathy for victims of gun violence. So we love to see it. Mm-hmm. Sarah, good work. There are a couple famous apparitions that appear regularly. One is a man named Clyde, who is a mustachioed man, sometimes seen pushing a wheelbarrow in the basement or trying to repair the fireplace in the ballroom. He's been described to management roughly along the lines of like, oh, we really like that actor who you guys hired to, quote unquote, repair the ballroom fireplace, wearing white overalls and a Victorian boater hat. And everyone's like, there's no actor.
Yeah.
What? So there are like multiple reports of that, like people going down to the basement as a part of the tour, and like some straggler at the end is like, oh, that was creepy having that guy down there, huh? Like, nice work. People were like, oh no, there was no one out there. And they actually have a photo of Clyde back in the day as a worker on the Winchester estate. So he was a real person. He existed. He seems to be lingering, or perhaps his energy is lingering. There are also the gentle tugs. This reminded me of your creepy lab coat story. No, thank you. There are gentle tugs of shirts or skirts during tours, and report from longtime maintenance worker Denny. He says, one crisp morning after entering the water tower, send help.
You got it.
Thank you. He heard the patter of footsteps above. He ascended to let the trespasser know the 3-story structure was off limits, but the footsteps always seemed to be one step ahead of him and one floor above. His search culminated on the roof with no one in sight, which is kind of creepy.
Quite.
Houdini at one time visited the house. We talked about Houdini a little bit. I think it was the Halloween episode, right? Yeah, last episode.
I think so.
So as we mentioned, he was very anti-spiritualism. So he actually visited the house in 1924 during one of his nationwide tours to debunk spiritualism, and a lot of other experts have followed since then. So I don't know exactly what he did there, but Zach Bagans of Ghost Adventures, which is Travel Channel, actually, just confirmed that. A well-known psychic called Sylvia Brown, James Van Prague, who has channeled Sarah at a seance dinner. They've all visited, and a lot of them have claimed to hear or feel from Sarah that she loves that the house is filled with people. So I think it was a very lonely place, I would guess. She's in this big, like, weird kind of creepy house, not by herself because she has staff, but, that doesn't seem all that fun. She's a widow, and she's like haunted by the sins of her husband, kind of, and his family. So kind of interesting. There's one story from April 2019. An architectural historian met with the house historian, I think it's Janen Bohm, to present findings on who had most likely created the really beautiful stained glass windows in the mansion. And Bohm was convinced that at least one of the mysteries of the house had finally been solved, but there was no hard evidence. So they're trying to track down like the source of a lot of these like construction materials, because a lot of it's really quite beautiful. Bohm recounts that something very strange happened. The very next day, a restorer uncovered a perfectly preserved envelope that had been hidden inside the wall for 125 years. Addressed to Mrs. S.L. Winchester, it bore the elaborate logo of the Pacific American Decorative Company, the very company the researcher had concluded was the maker of Sarah's windows.
Oh, wow.
So it was almost like she planted it. Yeah. Like it was somewhere kind of obvious that she knew they'd find if she left it there. Right. They were desperate to know who did this just for the historical component of it, and she kind of led him to it.
That's nice.
Kind of sweet. Yeah. Cool. Sweet lady. Okay, so we're gonna leave California and land in Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas.
So we'll start small. So Moonshine Bar and Grill, which is a place that I have dined at this lovely establishment. Very cute, delicious cocktails. They've got like a Tito's vodka lemonade that I highly recommend for anyone traveling to Austin in the summer. Its reputation for being haunted seems to be mainly based on the fact that it's actually in one of Austin's oldest buildings, which is kind of a cool historical fact. But customers often report being tapped on the shoulder and, wait for it, licked on the neck by an invisible entity.
Oh, no.
As well as the occasional flying wine bottle.
Oh, that
sounds dangerous.
Yeah, very.
Empty or full? Like, a full wine bottle could kill someone, I feel.
Yeah, it could.
I mean, an empty one probably could too if it hit you in the head.
Yeah, probably.
I thought that was hilarious. I think if I felt someone lick my neck, I would have a very large reaction. No. Just the thought.
That's really invasive. Like,
right.
Such a vulnerable
spot. Yeah. Lick my neck only if it's clear that you have my approval. Thank you. Right. There's a time and a place, Ghost. Yeah. And it is not Moonshine Bar and Grill.
Not when you're enjoying a cocktail.
And also, right. And also, it's Austin. I'm sweating. If I'm sitting in there, I'm sweating.
Yeah.
That's going to be a salty mouthful you're going to get. So, joke's on you.
What a nice image.
Delicious. Delicious.
Delicious.
Delicious. Okay, so Moonshine Bar and Grill. Okay, this one's really fun. So for my birthday last year, my friends in Austin, a few of them took me on a ghost tour as a surprise. And cool. It was so fun. So we started at the Omni Hotel, which is a chain hotel, but allegedly is haunted. We didn't spend a lot of time there, but they took us around kind of a funky route that passed by like the Capitol building and then the governor's mansion. So the governor's mansion is what I'm going to talk about. And they told us a ton of like crazy stories about especially spirits haunting the government buildings there. Like it's very, very common apparently. And it's old, which makes sense. And there was also slavery in Texas for a very long time. So there's a lot of haunting related to enslaved people, spirits, etc. So the governor's mansion, though, which is what I'm gonna talk about. But I just loved seeing it because I was like, oh my God, I've been there. Like I know the history. It's so cool. That is cool. So the governor's mansion, though it was rebuilt after a fairly recent fire, is actually one of the oldest executive residences in the US. And has a lot of ghosts. So one is Sam Houston, who was both president and governor of Texas until he refused to join the Confederacy, which caused big problems for him. And one of the most persistent and famous is the alleged ghost of a 19-year-old man who shot him in one of the mansion's rooms after being rejected by the niece of then Governor Pendleton Murrah. So they went into huge detail on the tour about this whole story that like this kid was like heartbroken and probably a little bit not well mentally and literally shot himself in like the parlor room after the niece was like, no, I'm good. I'm not into it. So don't do that, guys. No. Your worth is not based on someone else liking you back. But yeah, rattling, moans, groaning, turning doorknobs. These are all very common things to hear coming out of that room. I think it was actually a guest room. It wasn't like a living room. So kind of interesting and spooky. Austin's Inn at Pearl Street, which I've never been. I'd actually never heard of until I started looking up haunted places in Austin about a year ago. So originally, the 1896 building was home of Judge Charles A. Wilcox and family. The house was eventually occupied by a series of renters, including a housing co-op. By the 1980s, it was in pretty bad shape. So it was purchased and renovated as an inn in the 1990s. And the apparition of a woman carrying a child has been seen walking through the house or sitting in a rocking chair, which, like, what happened, you know? Like, are you good, girl? You and your baby? You guys okay? I don't think they're together. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's true. Music, lights, and other noises also have been heard while the place was empty and even while the electricity was turned off, though frankly, those could have just been some of the many dance parties held there during its modernity. So unclear, lots of like not really confirmed sightings and, spooky things. A lot of spooky things happen there. So that is the Austin's Inn at Pearl Street. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is the Driscoll, which is like one of the most famous haunted hotels, I think, in all of the US. It makes like top 10 lists.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that name.
Yeah. I made a top 10 list in Condé Nast Traveler, actually, for like 10 most haunted places in the US, which I thought was kind of interesting. And I've had drinks in there, which was cool. And it's beautiful. So it's really old school. It's very like grand staircases and very like dark carpets and like big leather chairs and these huge, like, I don't know, they're probably like 10 feet wide, like painted portraits of, I guess, historical figures and probably families that like lived, that, Texan families over the years. So really interesting. So it's a Romanesque hotel with modern rooms and an iconic brick facade. So that part's really, really famous. And it's really beautiful, striking from the outside. It has these big like Roman pillars out front. So it's kind of funny. Like it almost looks like it belongs in like DC. Like it almost looks like Austin. Some congressional building, but it's kind of like squished in between just other like, restaurants and apartments and hotels and stuff. So it's drawn a lot of European tourists as well as wedding parties. It's been open since 1886. And it's a true Austin landmark. It's one of those places that like people say to visit if you're going to visit Austin, not just because it's haunted, but because it's iconic and historic and beautiful. Yeah. Travelers have noted eerily abnormal sounds through the corridors, as well as phantom sightings of the hotel's namesake, Jessie Driscoll, whose portrait still hangs in the lobby. And so this is the portrait that I was referencing earlier. There are many portraits throughout the hotel, but this one is like, you know how in those really old school like mansions, you have like a half staircase and then a landing.
Yeah.
And then the staircase wraps up and around on both sides to the next level.
Yeah.
It's that. And that wall on the landing has this massive portrait of him. And it's one of those old school ones you'd see in like the Haunted Mansion ride at Disneyland where he clearly, yes, because he's looking at, the painting gives the illusion that he's looking at you regardless of where you go. And I stood there looking at it for probably 2 full minutes and just was like, oh, that gives me the wig. Like, no, I didn't like it. You do not get a good vibe looking at it. It's really dark. Like the background is dark. He's wearing dark clothes. It's very shadowy and like creepy. Beautiful, very realistic and well done, but like, yikes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think if you're not even seeing his apparition, that man would haunt my dreams. So there's that. So people say that he never recovered from the heartbreak of losing his hotel. He had just finished building it and immediately lost it in a high stakes poker game.
Oh no.
And not to be insensitive, but you dumb as hell, Jessie. That was really stupid.
That was a mistake.
Sounds like a personal problem. So lots of ghostly presences there. Staff actually has a handout on them to give to guests. Like I said, they include the namesake, who is a Civil War colonel, actually, Jessie Driscoll, and Peter J. Lawless, who lived in the hotel from 1886 until 1916, including during renovations. That name, that's the best name I've ever heard. Like,
is that
I'm
real?
changing my last name to Lawless. Olivia Lawless.
Ooh, sounds good.
Right? I think so too. So yeah, anyone listening, if your last name's Lawless, you're looking for a wife, holler. No, I'm just kidding. But actually, anyway, Peter Lawless can be seen checking his pocket watch when the elevator doors of the 5th floor on the hotel's historic side open. It's very specific.
Yeah.
So there's like, I think because it's been renovated multiple times. So the old side, that's like the original, 5th floor, check it out. You may see Petey Lawless. Musician Annie Lennox reportedly had supernatural help with choosing an outfit to perform in when she was on tour and stayed in the hotel. So some fun like celeb
that's
ghost
cool.
sightings. Not that she's the ghost, but you know what I mean. And Jeanette, I don't know who this is. Jeanette Napolitano's song "Ghost of a Texas Ladies Man" is supposedly about this encounter between Annie Lennox and a ghost, helping her pick out her.
That's so cool.
That is California and Texas. I mean, I was a little like narrow in my search because I could have just gone in. But like I said, this was first of many parts, so I may revisit some of these places, general locations. Before I pass it over, I have to tell you my memory that was unlocked. Okay, so I went to a private Catholic school for high school in the Bay Area, and my school had a brother school and a sister school. And so the 2 all-girls schools were quite small. So there were 2 of them, but then the boys' school was bigger. So it was like basically 50-50 when all 3 were together. And they called the 3 schools together tri-school. So we did a lot of like co-ed things, like dances would be with all 3, and, you know, musical production and our like debate club and all that stuff. So just for context. So I did musical theater in high school. And nerd. And we usually would rehearse at the brother school, but every once in a while we'd rehearse at the sister school, not mine, the other one, called Mercy High School, or Mercy Burlingame, located in, you guessed it, Burlingame, California. So it's a beautiful school. Like, it's an absolute mansion. It's called Cole Mansion, Kohl. There's at least one building in the school. And it's got this like really, it's just gorgeous. Like the architecture is gorgeous. It's like wood paneling on the walls with like, it's almost like wood, like crown molding. I don't even know if that's what you call it. If it's like, I guess it is. Yeah, crown molding's wood. Yeah. There's this one room where they have these like massive tapestries hanging. And then above the tapestries is this like balcony kind of thing. And allegedly, one of the maybe original owners or original builders of the mansion actually. Oh,
that scared me so bad.
Sorry, French Siri is really coming in hot. Shush. Anyway, sorry. Okay, so there are these like big tapestries hanging. Above that is this like balcony area. And allegedly one of the original owners or builders of the mansion had, I believe, trigger warning, committed suicide. It was either by gun or by hanging, if I recall. And so anyway, so context, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. So if we were in this like big great room, I think they call it, where they have these tapestries and you can see this balcony and this like hallway on either side. And if you like go, it's big. It's a big fucking room. It's almost like a gym size. If you go out to the left when you're facing the balconies and then like down that hall and then you take a right, there's this huge long hall with lockers. So it's where all the girls' lockers were. And so like I said, we're there rehearsing for the musical with kids from all 3 schools. And so I was there with a friend of mine. She was like, hey, I'm kind of creeped out. I need to go run to my locker. It's like 8 or 9 p.m. at this point. Mm-hmm. We were like rehearsing late, whatever.
Yeah.
She's like, will you come with me to my locker? Like, I feel creeped out and like the lights are on auto, but I don't know. Can you just come with me? And I was like, sure. Of course, her locker is at the very end of the hallway.
Yeah.
The farthest one. And I was like, okay. So so I was like, okay, I didn't even think anything of it because I had never heard any bad juju spiritual shit about this building. So I was like, like a big idiot. Yeah, I'm like, of course, I'll go with you. So we're walking down the hall. And as we're walking down the hall, the lights in sections start going on because they're on motion detectors. Mm-hmm. So we get to her room to her locker, and it's right beside a classroom. And the classroom had, those like really skinny, long windows that are like just in the door. So it's just like, you can't really see in, but it was frosted. So you couldn't see into the classroom. It was clearly dark in there. And she's opening up her locker or whatever. And I hear the door, someone like trying to open the door from the inside. And so I kind of looked at her and she looked at me and I was like, are you fucking with me? And she was like, no. And I was like, okay. And so she's like, I was like, what, can we like pick it up?
Hurry up. Yep.
She's like, yeah, sorry. Okay. Sorry. And at that moment, it sounded like something hit the door and then rattled. And you could see some movement behind that frosted glass. And I was like, I'm not going to say her name, but we'll say her name was Sarah. I was like, Sarah, are you serious? And at that moment, she like, because she heard it too, and she saw it, and she was like, oh, and we're both freaking out. And at that moment, so mind you, the lights went on from the end of the hallway where we started. The last one coming on was above us, where we still were, where we were still moving.
Yeah.
So even if we weren't moving logically, they'd go off in that same order.
Right.
They started going off in the opposite direction.
Oh, no.
So like leaving us in the dark. Yeah. Which meant that the light filtering through the classroom and through that frosted window, like we could see something backlit in there.
Oh, no.
And it looked like there was someone standing in there. I have never run so fast.
Oh.
Like
I can imagine. Oh my God. That's
I'm
so
like
scary.
freaked out just remembering it.
Yeah.
So we get back into the main room. Spoiler alert, we didn't get murdered by a ghost or a real murderer. Thank God. Because honestly, that's always my first thought is I'm like, oh no, an axe murderer is in there. Like, it's not a ghost, it's a murderer. So anyway, so we run back into the main room, whatever. We like are both like red in the face, like looking really horrified. And I can't remember who it was someone else who went to Mercy. They were like, what? Oh, chill. Like, what happened? And we explained, and they were like, yo, that's creepy. And they were like, do you know the history of the school? And we were like, no. And she was like, well, so she gave the background, and it was similar to what I'm saying, where she wasn't like 100% sure what happened, but the like Cole Mansion, someone or other died there, blah, blah, blah. I have not confirmed this for the record, so I will confirm and we'll follow up.
Okay.
But I wanted to give my authentic retelling before I got influenced by after the fact research. So she's like, okay, one of the like most famous sightings of him, I want to say his name was like Joe or Jim or something like that. I think maybe it was Joseph Cole was like the original, like who the house was named after. Anyway, so there was they had a photography class, of course, most schools do. And someone had taken a photo of the tapestries. And so they laid down like at the bottom, like with their feet up against the wall and looking up with the camera took a photo, which means that they captured obviously most of the tapestry from like a cool artsy angle, but they also got some of the balcony. And so she had been there, this was like a summer course or something. And so she had been there like in the like later afternoon, like 6 or 7 p.m. taking this photo. We get it. Like, what is triggering him?
What's he even saying?
I'm taking it off. I can't hear through my noise canceling headphones, but we're not talking to you. So anyway, after that rude interruption, so she went and developed the photos like immediately and in the like dark room or whatever, and hung them up, left, came back the next morning, and there is a man standing in the balcony.
Oh God. Oh no.
Yeah. With like, you can see, they said that you could see his like full body except for his head was like very fuzzy. It's not that it wasn't there, but it was like someone had like blurred it out.
Oh, Weird.
Really weird. And so everyone was like, it was probably a maintenance person and you just didn't notice. And she was like, no. I was alone in there when I took the photo. I looked at it on the viewfinder. He was not there. I processed it. I hung it up. It was not there as the photo was developing. Like, I'm certain.
Whoa. Yeah.
And she was freaked the F out. So this was like a friend of the girl that we had talked to.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, very creepy story, long-winded,
Wow.
but creep city.
Very
So
scary. Oh.
that's my story.
Oh God. I'm so glad that you survived. That is
I know,
so
right?
scary.
All girls Catholic school, man. You gotta just it's a scary world out there.
Wow.
Out there in those suburban streets.
Exactly. Whoa.
Oh God.
Crazy. That's
your turn.
My turn. This episode is going to be long. I'm realizing.
That's okay.
I hope that's all right.
That's okay.
Okay.
Well, we're late. We're a day late, so we got to give the people the content they deserve.
A double episode.
A double.
Double. Okay. Double. Cool. So, like I said, these are all in Colorado, my home state. And let's see, I tried to pick places that I had been to just because I find that is pretty interesting. So, the first one is my hometown of Fort Collins. And just the week of Halloween, there was a article in our local paper, the Coloradoan, that Fort Collins ranked the third most haunted city in the U.S.
The dream.
I know, but before we get too excited, that is that ranking comes from Yelp. And it's based on the percentage of Yelp reviews that contain words associated with haunted places like ghost, haunt, and or creepy. And it excludes businesses in the haunted house category. So that's really just based on people writing Yelp reviews. Like maybe we have a higher concentration of people that like to write Yelp reviews.
But also, I mean, I feel like that's actually maybe one of the more reliable things.
Yeah.
Because, we get these like silly historical things and it's like, not silly, but like historical things. And then people make inferences based on that. Whereas people are like, yo, this place seems haunted as fuck based on my recent experience. Like, I don't know. I kind of believe that.
That's what we want to hear. Yeah. And we do have ghost tours here that I haven't been on, but
next time I visit?
Yes, please.
Let's go.
I learned something through this research that I had no idea.
Yay.
So we'll get into that. But the first thing, there's just one spot that I wanted to talk about in Fort Collins because I have been hearing that it's haunted for years and years. Like it's well known to be a haunted place. And funny enough, it's an ice cream shop called Walrus Ice Cream.
What a cute name.
I know, it is cute with a cute little walrus logo.
Walrus.
Yay. So Walrus Ice Cream is in our historic downtown, which we call Old Town. And underneath Old Town, there is a network of tunnels that...
That's not a good start.
I know. I had no idea they were there.
That's worse.
I know.
That's so much worse.
So this was a surprise to me, but I think those ghost tours go into those tunnels.
So, we have to go. Oh my God, I'm booking my flight right now.
It'd be pretty cool, but also very potentially scary. So
like the catacombs, kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
Envisioning.
Yeah, I don't know what they look like, but I'm envisioning something like weird, concrete, kind of wet for an unknown reason. But yeah, I don't know what they were built for exactly, but they've had a lot of uses over the years, like storage. This one said that bootleggers used to use them during the Prohibition to transport secret liquor. Secret liquor. And also in the Cold War, parts were turned into bunkers. And another one that's most relevant was that there was an entrance somewhere to these tunnels that horses could go down into and pull coffins to the local morgue.
That took a turn I was not expecting.
Yeah. I mean, they must be really huge for horses to fit down there. So I'm just I can't wait to see them.
Wow.
If I do go on the tours, I'll take pictures.
Hell yeah.
But
what the?
Yeah, no surprise. The tunnels below Walrus were where the horses would drop off bodies to go to the morgue next door. That makes it seem like Walrus could be a place for a lot of different ghosts to hang out, but the owners and employees have pinpointed that there's one main ghost, and his name is Charlie Dinnebeck. And Charlie ran a cafe in the space that's now Walrus Ice Cream from 1919 to 1940 upon his death. And the current owners got confirmation that the ghost is in fact Charlie from a medium who was able to contact him when they asked her to come try to figure out what was going on. Which is cool.
So cool. I wonder if they because I feel like if they didn't tell her anything, or them, I don't know if the psychic's male or female, or non-binary.
Yeah.
That's freaky.
Right. I know. I don't know how it went down. I'd be curious, but
yeah. We got to go on this tour.
Yeah, I think it was maybe they did know his name because he was an owner, so maybe she asked, are you Charlie or something?
Yeah.
But still, it's cool that she got a reaction, no matter what she was asking.
Right.
So, yeah, but Charlie it sounds like he was really social. He was involved in the political life of Fort Collins. He owned several businesses and he was really dedicated to them and loved throwing parties for his family and friends in the cafe that's now Walrus.
Cutie.
So, I know, sweet. And he's a friendly ghost too because he was fun-loving in life, and he's the same in death now because he's known to be active even when the shop is busy. I think he enjoys having people around. He's, like I said, he's part of the lore of the place now, so I think he likes that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm famous. Everybody loves me.
Exactly.
Oh, that is so sweet.
Yeah, so I really like that. And just does silly things. Sometimes he'll knock things off the walls, rearranges cupboards. Once he took all of their cookie sheets and laid them out on the floor behind the counter, in an ordered line. And the current owner also said that she once saw something out of the corner of her eye and turned and watched the handle of the keg of root beer move and just dump root beer all over the ground.
He's a little shit disturber.
Yeah,
I like him.
Prankster, a little joker.
Oh, cutie.
Yeah, so I like him, but then, so the medium was only able to get in touch with him, so they assume that he's the one, but another employee at Walrus also said that once when she was in the basement, she watched a red feather float through the air, apparently out of nowhere.
A red feather?
Mm-hmm. What kind of bird has a red feather?
A cardinal, I guess?
And also in a basement? I don't know.
Oh.
But anyway.
And how would it get down there?
Exactly.
Yeah, what?
So there's a story.
Even a pigeon. That's so weird.
I know, there shouldn't be any birds down there. But after that happened, the owner of Walrus did some more research on the history of their building and found that before Charlie opened the cafe, it was a hat shop. And I did not fact check this, but apparently the owner of the hat shop was known to wear a black hat with a red feather. So cool. I get
so cool.
Yeah, I like that one.
Whoa, these are good. These are really good. I really like these.
Okay, it gets a little creepier.
Okay,
So the medium also, when she was there, she found that there is a, quote, supernatural portal in the tunnels underneath the building. So remember, this would have been the part of the tunnels where the bodies were dropped off to be carried into the morgue. So it's like, I don't know, were these, this was like where they passed on into the next world, whatever. But the medium suggested that Charlie is the guardian of the portal, which is like,
oh my God.
I don't know. I just wonder if he'll ever be able to move on from there. What that even means to have a supernatural portal. And I don't know if I want to find out.
Can we go through it?
God, I hope not.
Right.
But, like,
you're on a tour. Yeah, I disappear. Olivia? She must have gotten sucked into the portal.
That's why you signed the waiver.
Yeah. For injury or portal suckage.
Exactly. So.
Oh my God.
I don't know what to make of that.
Whoa.
That was pretty cool. There were a few other spots, but I think that one's the most interesting.
So cool.
Yes. So then the second spot, moving on from Fort Collins, is called St. Elmo. And it's a ghost town, and it's the best preserved ghost town in Colorado. And it is really cool to visit. Like, the buildings are all really well maintained. So it just kind of looks like it's still stuck in the 1800s. Really cool. So it was founded in 1880 during the gold and silver mining boom in Colorado. And it had only about 2,000 residents at its peak, but it became a ghost town gradually after the mine shut down in the 1920s.
Oh.
And the main ghost that's said to be in St. Elmo is named Annabelle Stark, and they call her Dirty Annie, which is kind of mean, so I'm just going to call her Annie.
Okay.
But there is an explanation for why, but I just don't like that. So
okay, fair. Was it like sexual in nature?
No, it's like filthy, disheveled.
Oh.
So it's sad.
I don't actually think that's worse. Yeah. She probably couldn't help it.
Exactly. So, yeah, Annie.
Dirty Annie.
I know. Yeah, poor thing. And she didn't have the best life, it sounds like. So it's like, let's not pick on her.
Yeah.
Now.
Can we leave her be? Come on.
Yeah, Annie and her family were some of the original settlers of this town. Her dad worked in the mines, and her mom ran the hotel and the general store. And her mom was named Anna. She was named Annabelle or Annie, so it's kind of confusing. But Anna was known to be very stern and really strict with her kids. She didn't allow them to play with the other kids or really go out in the town. But Annie loved St. Elmo, and I wonder if that's because her mom, like, kept her from it.
Yeah.
So she was, like, dying to be part of it. She loved it. And after her mom died, Annie stayed there. And maybe to rebel against her, Annie was known to walk the streets of the town every day. But as she got older, her mind started to go, and sometimes she would carry a shotgun with her as if she was protecting the town. And also, that's when she lost the ability to care for herself, so people started calling her Dirty Annie.
Oh, that's sad. Yeah. She was just like a little old lady with dementia.
Exactly. No one to take care of her. So,
and she loved her town.
Yeah, I'm not going to call her Dirty Annie. That's so, so not nice. But
Clean Annie. You're a shining star. Sweet Annie.
Sweet St. Elmo Annie.
Yeah. Oh, cutie.
Yeah. And then since her death, residents of the town, which there are only a few of, and visitors to the town have reported seeing her around. And one story that was interesting that maybe was her maybe not, was that a woman was cross-country skiing through St. Elmo at dusk when she looked up and saw a woman in the upstairs window of the hotel, which, remember, Annie's mom owned the hotel.
Yeah.
And the skier, this is in more modern times, she knew the owner, the current owner of the hotel, and she knew that they weren't there and there were no guests. So she checked the doors and the downstairs windows and found that they were locked. So she looked up and the woman was still there, and she looked like she was glaring at something out in the distance. So the skier looked to see what she was looking at and saw a group of people coming on snowmobiles. And snowmobiling is not allowed in St. Elmo. So it's
oh my God,
that she was like enforcing the rules. She was looking at these rule-breaking snowmobilers with disgust. And that's why she was looking out, which is so funny. So then the skier, she went off and talked to these snowmobilers, told them you can't do that, whatever. And then the skier came back when the owner of the hotel returned and told her what she saw. So they just went upstairs and searched, and they searched the whole hotel and found no evidence of anyone ever having been there, like either breaking in or leaving any trace. So fascinating.
Well, and it's not like, you know how sometimes it's like, okay, well, maybe you were kind of drunk or like maybe high, but like if you're cross-country skiing, you're going to be completely sober.
Yeah.
Like that's not something you want to be drunk doing. No. So
you're probably going to be, feeling really good.
And it's not like, oh, I saw it out of the corner of my eye. Like she looked at her full on multiple times, like looked away, looked back.
Yeah. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
She and Charlie have some stuff in common, I feel. Like guarding something that they love.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
And yeah, this was just a reminder when I was researching these that ghosts, like, they don't appear where they die necessarily.
Right.
You can go to places that you loved in life or where you had a crazy experience or something.
Yeah. Where your energy left residual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was just, a good reminder of that. Because I feel like you traditionally think of ghosts showing up where they died
on the spot. Yeah, exactly.
It's not always the case.
Interesting.
Yes. And the final one.
Oh, do I know what it is?
You already mentioned, the Stanley.
Yes!
We had to do the Stanley Hotel.
Oh, yay! I was hoping.
Yes, which we've both been to. It's the, I guess, cover art of our podcast.
Come play with us forever.
But when we went, we didn't get to really go in because we weren't staying there and we didn't take a ghost tour or anything.
Yeah.
So I feel like we need to go back there as well.
Yeah, we should. We also had a lot of fun sledding that day in Estes Park. So
that was really fun.
What are those bobsleds called?
Oh man,
ice bobs or something
like
snow bob.
God, I can't remember. I'll try to find it on.
They had the funniest name.
Swiss bob.
I was dying.
That's
Oh, we had so much fun.
But they go
God,
fast.
That was a great day. Yeah, and then we'd hit those bumps and we'd go flying off. I have so many videos of you just looking like a little like jumping bean. Holding on for dear life. Okay, so yes, round 2 coming soon.
Okay. So we had to do the Stanley. It's the inspiration for The Shining, which is both a novel and a movie, written by Stephen King. And the Stanley Hotel was built in 1909, and Stephen King was inspired after he stayed there in 1974. And what he wrote about his stay was, this is a quote, "We were the only guests, as it turned out. The following day, they were going to close the place down for the winter. Wandering through its corridors, I thought that it seemed the perfect, maybe the archetypical setting for a ghost story. That night, I dreamed of my 3-year-old son running through the corridors, looking back over his shoulder, eyes wide, screaming. He was being chased by a fire hose. I woke up with a tremendous jerk, sweating all over, within an inch of falling out of bed. I got up, lit a cigarette, sat in the chair looking out the window at the Rockies, and by the time the cigarette was done, I had the bones of the book firmly set in my mind. So, amazing. I haven't watched The Shining in years, and I've never read the book, but I'm remembering the scenes of the little boy in the movie, like running or riding his little bike down the hallways. And also, was it an elevator full of blood?
I think so.
Or like the hallway.
The bathroom.
I can't remember, but
I'm getting the book and the movie confused because I've read the book more recently than I've seen the movie. And there are a lot of really scary bathroom scenes in the book.
Yikes.
That's insane. In the time it took him to smoke a cigarette, he had the full outline.
Yeah. Amazing.
In his mind.
Genius.
He's a freaking genius. Stephen, I'm obsessed with you. If you're listening, I'm obsessed with you. I'm obsessed with you.
Yeah, that's really brilliant. But I feel like, that dream you can see in, indications or like a reflection of it, I guess, in the movie. I don't know if the blood had anything to do with like the hose. I'm just picturing it
spraying blood. No, totally.
So
pretty cool. That's wild. That is so cool.
Let's see. Okay, so one of the most notoriously haunted spots in the Stanley is room 217, which is in the book. For some reason, for the movie, they changed it to 237, but the book is 217. And that's where he stayed during his visit, is in room 217.
There's one, he wrote a short story too that's called Room Something. And I originally thought that maybe it was based on this because it adds up to the number 13, but that doesn't. That adds up to 12.
Right.
Anyway, just a side note.
That kind of rings a bell with me too.
Yeah. I think I watched it in college, and I think you maybe popped in and out a couple times.
Typical.
It's with typical. I want to say it's with Keanu Reeves.
Oh, Keanu.
Keanu. Oh, Keanu, dude. Dude. Who also is a smoke show.
Thumbs up.
Even my toe thumbs are up. You knew where I was going with that. Jinx. Yeah, I've got all 4 thumbs up for him.
Yeah.
He's fine as hell.
He is. He's cute as hell.
Cute as hell. Okay, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. The room 217, Stephen King stayed there, and that room is said to be haunted by the ghost of a woman named Elizabeth Wilson. And Elizabeth was the head housekeeper of the hotel in the years right after it opened. And in 1911, Elizabeth was going room to room to light the candles in the guests' rooms. But unfortunately, there was a gas leak in the hotel. And when she entered room 217, it caused an explosion that resulted in Elizabeth falling from the 2nd story. And amazingly, she survived that fall and the explosion, but she had 2 broken ankles.
Ow.
Yeah, but she continued to live at the Stanley for an unreported number of years before she died in Estes Park in her 90s. So she had a long life.
Damn, Elizabeth!
I know. Survived an explosion and lived, I don't even know, decades after to tell the tale.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was
impressive.
Well, and knowing that too, Stephen King incorporated a lot of the history of the building into the story.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Okay. That just triggered a memory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I need to rewatch it. I haven't seen the movie in years.
Yeah. It's a good one. And it's not like scary enough for me to not want to watch it.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's really creepy, but it's not like.
Yeah, right. So, Elizabeth, okay, the ghost in room 217, whether it's Elizabeth or somebody else, has made their presence known, particularly to unmarried couples that stay in that room. And some of the couples...
She doesn't approve?
No, she does not approve.
Get it?
I know. Some of the couples that have stayed in there have experienced the feeling of someone laying in between them in bed, like trying to separate them.
Oh?
And others have left the room and then come back to find their luggage is like set at the door as if like, get out, time for you to go.
Oh my God.
She really
sassy.
Yeah, she does what she wants. It sounds like
Good
she
for
just
her.
has control of that. Like, people just accept her or whatever she wants to do.
Whoa. Would you leave?
Probably. I think so.
I would stay, but I'd be like, no funny business. I'm not trying to get murdered by a ghost tonight, thanks.
I don't think I would sleep the whole night if anything like that happened.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would just be like,
yeah,
looking around all night, waiting. Yeah.
We should go stay in that room.
Oh, God.
Just us, though. Okay. No males.
Okay.
No males.
Maybe she'd come and do something nicer if it was just us.
Yeah, right? Maybe she'd come hang and chat.
Yeah, but...
We'd use a Ouija board. Just kidding.
No.
Never.
No way.
Never.
Yeah, but let me give you another option for a room to stay in.
Please.
Because
hit me.
This is funny. So,
oh, God.
Well, first of all, the 4th floor is said to be like the most concentrated area for hauntings in the hotel.
Okay.
Particularly with paranormal experiences with what seem to be children's ghosts. And this makes sense given that the 4th floor was once the designated area for children to stay with their nannies.
Oh.
While the parents stayed in a different hotel room. And the stories of that mostly just include seeing like apparitions of children just kind of out of the corner of their eye, hearing dainty footsteps, some laughter, but another ghost that haunts the 4th floor is a cowboy in room 428.
Sign me up.
I was going to say, do you choose Elizabeth or the cowboy? But first you have to hear what he does.
Yeah, okay,
so,
yeah.
People, and mostly women, who stay in room 428 have reported seeing a man who looks like a cowboy standing at the foot of the bed in the night, or waking up to the feeling of being kissed. Yikes.
Oh no. That's worse than neck licking in public.
Yeah, just
don't kiss me in the middle of the night.
Mouth? No. Mm-mm.
And also, like, you don't want that. I really have morning breath.
He doesn't seem to care, but
clearly not. Yeah, you're nasty.
Because people think that, so these are the experts in the history of Estes Park. They think that this is the ghost of a man they called Rocky Mountain Jim Nugent, who was
Rocky Mountain Jim.
Exactly. It's a perfect name for a cowboy.
It really is.
Yeah, but Rocky Mountain Jim was Estes Park's first tour guide, and he led expeditions into the national park and up Long's Peak, which is the 14er in there. So the mountain that's over 14,000 feet for anyone who doesn't know. And Jim was, for some reason that we don't know, shot by a rival tour guide. Not at the Stanley, but in Estes Park, of course.
Oh, okay.
And
also, who knew that was such a competitive industry?
Right. I mean, then, though, if you remember, Colorado was booming because of tuberculosis, of all things. So people were coming to get fresh air and probably wanted to go on nature expeditions for their health. So maybe it was booming back then.
Yeah.
But
throwback to episode like 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah. TBT.
That's TBT.
Yeah. And then let's see, that was relevant somehow. Oh yeah, because he died first of all, and then also the kissing and the fact that he appears mostly to women seems consistent with Jim's personality, because in a journal of a woman named Isabella Bird who climbed Long's Peak with him, she wrote that Jim was, quote, a man any woman might love, but no sane woman would marry.
Oh, sounds like my type.
Exactly.
Jim, let's go.
Yeah, so we could stay in 428. You could get a kiss from him.
I'm down. He'd probably go for you. He could probably smell the Colorado on you.
Ew.
He'd be like, she's my type.
No.
I'd be like, oh, West Coast.
Yeah,
West Coast bitch.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah. I got time. I've got endless time. Oodles. Oodles of time for Cowboy Kisses.
Oof. Maybe we should try.
Let's do it. Honestly, I think that me falling in love with a ghost is probably like the best description of my personality.
That's funny. It's fodder for your memoirs.
Literally, just like dumbass, romantic ass, paranormal ass, back on my bullshit, you know?
Well, we love it. I'm
into
about
it.
You.
It's fine. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, so that's the most detailed. There, of course, are other little anecdotes of guests, like having their things moved around, like their clothes pushed off of furniture, randomly opening doors. And also there's a pet cemetery on the grounds of Stanley. And apparently one of the dogs in particular, named Cassie, she was a golden retriever, and she still hangs out, and she likes to scratch at doors because she used to bring newspapers in to people.
Baby! Oh my god!
She's just doing her job. So it's pretty sweet.
So loyal.
I know. Oh. I love that about dogs.
That is so sweet. We don't deserve them.
No, we absolutely don't. But that's the Stanley, and that's Stanley some of Colorado's hauntings.
Hell yes. I'm so here for that. We have a lot of ghost tours to do.
Yes, we do. I feel
we need to do Fort Collins. I feel like we need to do SF.
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
We need to do Toronto. Mm-hmm. Toronto's old.
Yeah, that would be good. Yes.
We got some good ones.
Pretty much anywhere we go, maybe we should try to find the ghost tour.
Sailita?
I don't think that exists there.
Yeah, I don't think they're into that, but yeah, fair. I tried. Wow. Well, thanks everyone for hanging in while I was busy hanging with some family in town. So thank you for your patience, and hope you enjoy this extra 20 minutes of content. Please send us your stories at girlsgonespooky@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. You can also follow us on social, on Facebook and Insta at girlsgonespooky on both. And stay spooky, guys.
Yes, stay spooky. And have a good week. Thank you for listening.
Have a fabulous week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.